All right, YouTube School of Light. It is so bright. That's better now. I kind of block it. You can kind of see me. So, chapter 17, Deuteronomy. We're School of Light. Read through the Bible. I'm Seferino Beta, and what I offer with the School of Light ministry is the School of Light Bible studies that comes through the mail. You answer the questions, or you go through the series. You answer the questions. We grade it. We send your certificate of completion whenever you finish the series. All this at no cost to you, the student. Enough of these certificate of completions, and it can yield you college credit in a few colleges in the United States. So let's hop right to it. Deuteronomy 17 and chapter 18. So excited. I got an enthusiasm. It's like almost want to jump out of my skin. So fired up. But yesterday, chapter 16, we learned about worshiping idols, staying away from that, and servants. Well, not really servants. That was kind of just, we learned how where God was dealing with attitudes about possessions and releasing people's debts on the year of Jubilee, I think is the name of it. So now we're in chapter 17. Let's hop right to it. Do not sacrifice to the Lord your God an ox or a sheep that has any defect or flaw in it, for that would be detestable to him. So, if you had 10 cows and one of them had a missing leg, if you're giving that to God, in other words, give God your best. Don't give him like your if I don't know if, man, let's think of it another way. If you had 5 cars and your last car or the car you want to give to God is a 1990 Honda Civic versus your McLaren, your Ferrari, your Lexus, your nice trucks, and everything like that. So I think that's the point here. If a man or woman living among you in one of the towns the Lord gives you is found doing evil in the eyes of the Lord your God, in violation of his covenant and contrary to my command, has worshipped other gods, bowing down to them or to the sun or to the moon or the stars or the sky, and this has been brought to your attention, then you must investigate it thoroughly. If it is true, it has been proved that this detestable thing has been done in Israel. Take the man or woman who has done this evil deed to your city gate and stone that person to death. On the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, a man shall be put to death, but no one shall be put to death on the testimony of only one witness. The hands of the witnesses must be the first in putting him to death, and then the hands of all the people. You must purge the evil from among you. If cases come before your courts that are too difficult for you to judge, whether bloodshed, lawsuits, or assaults, take them to the place the Lord your God will choose. Go to the priests who are Levites and to the judge who is in office at the time. Inquire of them, and they will give you the verdict. You must act according to the decisions they gave you at the place the Lord will choose. Be careful to do everything they direct you to do. Act according to the law they teach you and decisions they give you. Do not turn aside from what they tell you, to the right or to the left. The man who shows contempt for the judge or for the priest who stands ministering there to the Lord your God must be put to death. You must purge the evil from Israel. All the people will hear and be afraid and will not be contemptuous again. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, and you take in possession of it and settle in it, and you say, let us set a king over us like all the other nations around us, be sure to appoint over you the king the Lord your God chooses. He must be from among your own brothers. Do not place a foreigner over you, one who is not a brother Israelite. The king, moreover, must not acquire great numbers of horses for himself, or make the people return to Egypt to get more of them. For the Lord has told you are not to go back that way again. He must not make many wives, or take many wives, or his heart would be led astray. He must not accumulate large amounts of silver and gold. Hmm. When he takes the throne of his kingdom, he is to write for himself on a scroll a copy of this law, taken from that of the priests who are Levites. It is to be with him, and he is to read it all the days of his life, so that he may learn to revere the Lord his God and follow carefully all the words of this law and these decrees, and not consider himself better than his brothers, and turn from the law to the right or to the left. Then he and his descendants will reign a long time over his kingdom Israel. Chapter 18. The priests who are Levites, indeed, the whole tribe of Levi, are to have no allotment or inheritance within Israel. They shall live on the offering made to the Lord by fire, for that is their inheritance. They shall have no inheritance among their brothers. The Lord is their inheritance, as he promised them. This is the share due the priest from the people who sacrifice a bull or a sheep, the shoulder, the jowls, and the inner parts. You are to give them the first fruits of your grain, new wine, and oil, and the first wool from the shearing of your sheep. For the Lord your God has chosen them and their descendants out of all your tribes to stand and minister in the Lord's name always. If a Levite moves from one of your towns anywhere in Israel where he is living and comes in all earnestness to the place the Lord will choose, he may minister in the name of the Lord his God, like his fellow Levites who serve there in the presence of the Lord. He is to share equally in their benefits, even though he has received money from the sale of family possessions. When you enter the land the Lord your God has given you, do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations there. Let no one be found among you who sacrifices his son or daughter in a fire, who practices divination or sorcery, who interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or a spiritist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. And because of these detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. You must be blameless before the Lord your God. The nations you will dispossess listen to those who practice sorcery or divination. Well, that last part there, he says, anyone, let's see, whoever consults a spiritualist, medium, uh, let's see, sacrificing your son or daughter, casting spells, anyone who does this is detestable to the Lord, and because of these detestable practices, the Lord will drive out the nations before you. Well, I'm thinking about like people right now. There's people out there that are maybe not offering human and there are some that are offering human sacrifices right now. And God help and deliver those that are going through it, even in abortion. There are people out there that practice divination, some sorcery, some engage in witchcraft or cast spells, men and women. There's a lot of mediums out there and people that consult the dead. So I'm thinking, why is this so detestable to God? And really, it's because God wants a relationship with them. He showed them a way, and they choose these other things. And it's pretty detestable. It's kind of like if you had your wife and you guys were working together and she knows the way to go, or your husband, he knows the way to go, but he starts doing other things, like other women or other guys, if you're a guy. It's kind of like that kind of a thing. So Let's see, detestable practices. Okay. You must be blameless before the Lord your God. The nations you will dispossess listen to those who practice sorcery or divination. But as for you, the Lord your God has not permitted you to do this. So the Lord your God will rise up for you a prophet like me from among your own brothers. You must listen to him, for this is what you asked of the Lord your God at Horeb on the day of the assembly when you said, let us not hear the voice of the Lord our God, nor see this great fire any more, or we will die. The Lord said to me, what they say is good. I will rise up for them a prophet like you from among their brothers. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell them everything I command him. If anyone does not listen to my words that the prophet speaks in my name, I myself will call him to account. But a prophet who presumes to speak in my name anything I have not commanded him to say, or a prophet who speaks in the name of other gods, must be put to death. You must say to yourselves, how can we know when a message has not been spoken by the Lord? If what a prophet claims in the name of the Lord does not take place or come true, that it is a message the Lord has not spoken. So how do you tell if a person is a false prophet, right? So if I were to stay here and say, the end of the world's coming, that's one thing. But if I were to say, the end of the world's coming by January 2019, or January 1st, 2019, January 1st passes by, it didn't happen, false prophet. False prophet. You know, you're dealing in the spirit realm, and there is no hiding. You know, God's eyes are upon everyone, on everything, and he knows the attitudes and thoughts of the heart. From human beings to other type beings, he knows. And anything that is what's the word? Like in this example, he was saying, if there's anybody out there that's sacrificing their kids, one, two, or there was many, but the main thing was that if you were, you know, doing being a spiritist, reading omens, interpreting omens for people, contacting the dead, divination, casting spells, and all that, he's saying that you're in error. And I think the main reason is because he loves everybody. He loves the spiritists. He loves these people. But something in them chose to not follow God. So they know this way. They know that, you know, this is the book to be reading. This is what we should be following. Yet they go off of someone's like branch off teaching, you know, divination, this is a spiritual book. This is the spiritual book that we have on earth, and the Word became flesh. Jesus is our word in our physical word, our physical book. But whenever they had sorcery and they're involved and even today, someone right here might be watching this. You might be a male witch. You might be a female witch. You may be casting spells. There may be this certain thing that you're doing consciously or on purpose, or maybe even unconsciously, something that you were taught as a child, or you just picked up. And I'm saying to you now, the reason it's detestable to God, I feel in my heart, is because he loves you. He wants you to be spending that energy and time with him, but you're spending this time in the occult, in the outer realms of spirituality. You're in the suburbs, so to speak. You know, you're not close to heaven. You're in the outskirts, and God does not want His people in the outskirts so strongly. It's repeated over and over. Don't worship anyone but God. One, and two is these divination, all these different things, are just a violation of the first rule, first commandment, to serve the Lord, to have no other gods before God. Well, I hope that's something that would really help you today, help you for the year. I pray 2019 is the best year, really kick butt year for you in all areas, and pray God will guide you through this year. Pray. Let's see if you do. It's a challenge. It's easier said than done.